Welcome to Bloodbath & Beyond. Today we watched a movie I never thought we would see, the sequel to Wyrmwood, Wyrmwood Apocalypse.
Written and directed by Kiah Roache-Turner, the gang from Wyrmwood is back with a couple new recruits and Benny's nieces, where it's an apocalypse in the Wyrmwood universe. Shocking, I know. Most things are run off the gases of zombies. Reese is just some bounty hunter kind of guy, I guess. I don't know what he's doing. He's just collecting people he sees and giving them to a scientist to hopefully find a cure. This is a recommendation from Scott Beller over on Patreon, who's recommended some pretty good movies in the past, one of which, the most recent, was The Night Watchman, which we would recommend. It's a horror comedy with zombies. If you like those, check it out. They're like vampire zombie things. If you're interested in supporting the channel, check out the Patreon. It helps us kind of navigate the weird YouTube AdSense issues that we run into when we cover anything that has blood in it, including zombie movies, which we will show you some cool blood in this, and hopefully not get demonetized. What do we like? I like the zombie universe of Wyrmwood. It's so cool to me. Like the way that they use the zombies, because these zombies emit this disgusting like gas. It looks like trash. I personally hated that part, but it's funny the way that they use zombies. They use them to fuel their bikes because they just like throw a thing to suck the gas out, and that's just what's driving basically everything in this universe. We check out Reese's little headquarters, and just everything is running on zombies.
And that's what's cool about the aesthetics of this film, is just the stuff they use, because it very much feels like an apocalypse when they're like welding armor onto their vehicles or like themselves with how their suit is, and just random things that they're using to like make their weapons. Those shirt cannons that they're shooting out beanbags at people. Like it's different fun stuff, and it's very gritty.
Like just make sure you use a zombie and make sure his mouth is attached to some tube and you can do whatever you want.
Or you just dangle meat, like the carrot in front of a horse, and you have them pedaling on the bikes.
That's genius. It's that kind of stuff that is just really cool about Wyrmwood. We absolutely love the first one, and so seeing some recurring characters in this is fantastic. The doctor, he's kind of like this weird scientist guy who is just trying to stay alive because he's been bit and his hand is slowly turning into a zombie. But my favorite character, and probably everybody's favorite character, is Brooke, played by Bianca Bradey, who's just the coolest because she's like a hybrid zombie who can control other zombies. She'll basically use her mind powers to become a zombie and do some crazy shit. And I love that. And she's a babe. I think it's the white eyes for me. I know I was gonna wear my own so that you thought that I was a babe this review, but I didn't want to take away from her appeal.
And then of course there's Barry as well, who's back, her brother, a more bearded Barry. I feel like he grizzled out a bit since the first one. Also very badass. The two of them make a fantastic pair. It's funny, because they're not taking on zombies anymore. They're taking on the military, because that's where we left off in the first one.
And then we have Benny's nieces, who are also pretty good in their own way, and one of them happens to be a hybrid as well, much like Brooke. It's just a pretty good, well-rounded cast. Like, you hate the bad guys, you like the good guys, and Reese is somewhere in between. You're like, well, what the hell is he gonna do here?
And the doctor scientist was hilarious. He could give Bruce Campbell a run for his money when it comes to his possessed hand abilities, because that slapstick moment, especially when he like duct tapes it to himself, was pretty funny.
And I really liked the main bad zombie guy's design. It was almost ripped from Resident Evil Village, but this guy had one of those clampy hands that you get from Toys R Us. But like, he looked really badass, and I think the way that he was controlled using VR or whatever by the doctor guy, I think that was a cool aspect. Now, what didn't we like?
I didn't like the fact that the two people we cared about were barely in this movie. And there's nothing wrong with like making new characters to care about. It's just, there was no reason for them not to be in this when they're established and they're actually in the film.
Brooke's in the first opening scene.
Yeah, they split. And then at the end of the film, Brooke and Barry meet back up with them and they go try and save the day.
And unfortunately, Reese is just not interesting. You don't really care about him because he doesn't have an allegiance either way. Like, he just wants to live, which is not a strong enough motivation to care for a character other than like they drop in my twin brother, I wanna like avenge him.
We get the girl, you get to put a bullet in that prick who killed your brother.
And so while he does have a cool little headquarters, you see him just kind of like bring all these random people to the doctor, and it just happens over and over again. You just don't care, and it just is really boring for about 45 minutes. It's fun for like the first 5 minutes because you're like, okay, we're getting a feel for it, and then it just slows right down until Brooke comes into the fold again.
Yeah, like the final act was fun, but everything in between, you're just like, okay, so they're going to the lab, and then they're gonna leave the lab to go back to the lab and then leave the lab again.
It's just not interesting. There's not enough going on. There's not enough inner turmoil. We have one of the sisters with Reese like feuding. You don't care though. You don't care about either of those characters because they're not that cool.
It's like a side adventure. That's probably the best way to describe it. It's like, I wanna know more with Brooke and Barry trying to take down the military and what the military's motives are, instead of Reese dealing with the struggles of what he's doing is right or wrong.
And a main reason why we even liked the first one in the first place, it was funny. It's just these people trying to figure out how to live in the apocalypse. Now that you just have people that have lived there for countless days, oh, they're just living. They're just doing the thing. It's just boring.
It's a zombie film, yet there's no tension with the zombies. Like the zombies are only there as fuel. Like they're not there for any other purpose. It's only like humans versus humans.
Well, a lot of zombie movies do rely just like on character development. That's the problem too. Like if you don't care about the characters, then you need to focus on the zombies. It's either one or the other, but in here we don't have either. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. As much as I was excited for this film, it didn't quite live up to what I hoped. It wasn't as funny as the first. I didn't care about the characters as much. In fact, I didn't care about them at all, really. The only people I really cared about were Barry and Brooke, and they weren't in the movie that much. When they showed up, there were some cool moments, and it's just not like a hard recommend, honestly. Like, it's just kind of bland. So I'm gonna give this 2.5 sparring buddies out of 5.
This was a big disappointment for me. I was super excited for the sequel because I loved the first Wyrmwood and I wanted to learn more about this universe, and it was a letdown. They just didn't have a strong enough story. I think they just went in it thinking, okay, the audience just wants to see some action. And that's really all this film kinda is. Like Jay said, it's just sad that all you want to see is Brooke and Barry, and you don't get Brooke and Barry. So for this one, I wouldn't really recommend it. I would just leave it at the first one and let your imagination run wild after that. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 2 ejection seats out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film. If you've seen it, if you haven't and you do want to check it out, link is in the description. Definitely check out the first one. That's a great time. And if you want to learn more about our Patreon, link is also in the description. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay up to date with everything here on Bloodbath and Beyond.